I'm actually here in two capacities. One is as myself, but the first and the one I want to talk about is Democracy for America, who I now work for. And I emphasize that I work for them, they don't work for me. My brother took it over when I became the DNC chair, and he and Arshad Hassan are doing a great job, and they're going to continue to run it, and there's a process. So the first thing I want to say is that Democracy for America nationally, because of the work of Josh at DFA NYC, and because of what the people in DFA NYC wanted to do, are endorsing Josh for City Council.
All right.
He is a real community organizer. He's come from the grassroots. He's built. He was very involved in my campaign. Worked very hard for DFA. Then, as you know, became, I guess, the president of the Central Brooklyn Independent Democrat.
All right.
All better now.
Club. And so he really is somebody that's knocking on doors, just as all of you are. He's somebody who's really interested in the community, and I think he'll be a great fresh voice in the city council. And well, we don't know who's going to be the mayor yet, but we need his help. And maybe he can set those Democrats up in the state senate and figure out or I should say ex-Democrats.
Some things I can't even do.
Well, we'll have plans for them later. But and on a personal note, I also lend my endorsement to Josh. You know, we want him to do well. We think he can win. And as I said, he did so much for my campaign. He is really the person who does grassroots really, really well, as DFA NYC does, and all the organizations he's put together. And we need people like that in the city council. We need people who are going to be independent-minded. We need people who are going to have a fresh look at things. And we need people who are on the streets all the time, listening to ordinary people. So let me thank you very much for all your hard work. Do you want to say a few things here? You've already said a few things.
No.
Never at a loss for words. Next city councilor from District 39.
So, thank you so much for coming out and helping. It's a real honor to be standing here next to you. You've been a great inspiration to me and so many of these people in the room who I've worked side by side with for so many years. So I'm really proud. So I have a few prepared remarks. I just want to be clear about one thing. If it wasn't for Howard Dean, standing here next to me right now, I probably would not be here today. Like millions of Americans, I was inspired by Governor Dean's message of reform, by the courage he showed in speaking the truth long before it was popular, and by his commitment to grassroots democracy. And I think that's really important. One person at a time, he's been out there working for us. Governor Dean inspired me to co-found Democracy for New York City with a lot of my good friends here in this room, and I'm really, really happy to see them out with us. And today in New York City, now more than ever, we need groups like Democracy for New York City. We have a mayor who decided to just appoint himself a third term, and a city council that was far too happy to go along with it. And now, as everybody's been following along in Albany, something smells really familiar to me, you know? So reform is the order of the day in New York, and we need it. Our leaders are ignoring the voices of ordinary New Yorkers everywhere we look. Greedy developers are basically running the tables here in Brooklyn and treating our neighborhoods as a cash box rather than the individual communities that they actually are. Schools are struggling to keep up. Parks are endangered, workers are losing jobs and their rights, and there are more reasons for people to receive tickets in the street than there ever were before. So it's time for some changes. This is why I champion first and foremost reform. I'm running for city council to end the slush fund culture that we currently live under, to stand up to those developers, and to fight for working Brooklynites who've been left out of the conversation about our city's future. I'm seeking a seat in the city council because real reformers can't be afraid to take a stand, even if their views are at the time unpopular. And real reformers do have worthy role models. Governor Dean opposed the Iraq War while others were silent and made excuses. And we easily forget how few voices came to his rescue at the time. He got out front when it was really important, and we're really grateful that you did that. Here in Brooklyn, I fought the Atlantic Yards project while others were silent or made compromises. I was an early supporter of Barack Obama before it was politically convenient. I was among the first of the community leaders to call for a comprehensive and federalized cleanup of the Gowanus Canal. Before we were talking about it in the other meeting. And we have to do that because they want to house people along the Gowanus. And if we let them go ahead and house people before they clean it up, people will get sick. And we can't have that on our conscience as citizens of the 39th District. So we all have to get out there and fight earnestly to make sure that we get a real cleanup. Much like Governor Dean, I'm running a grassroots campaign. And my campaign, like Governor Dean's, is powered first and foremost by people. We have the biggest field team in the 39th Council District, I'm sure, and some of the best people in it. I love it. I love you all. We have the most individual donors of a city council race in Brooklyn. But we don't have the highest contribution rate per donor. And while my treasurer may lose sleep about that, it makes me really happy. Like Governor Dean, we're doing it in small amounts. We're doing it in $10 and $25. Because we want to make a difference one person at a time, not one big developer at a time. And that's what we're all about. So I want to thank Governor Dean for endorsing the campaign. He's the latest and the most famous leader to endorse our crusade for reform. But we've got lots of other great people on board with us, and I think I should just say thank you to a couple of them right now. Progressive visionaries like former Congressman Major Owens, who couldn't be here. Our excellent Assembly member, Jim Brennan, who's right down the block, is on board. We're really happy about that. State Senator Eric Adams, who's done so much great work in the community. Great to have him on board. We have local leaders like Jacob Gold and Lori Nipel on board. And Jesse Hamilton is here somewhere. I thought he was here. It's great to have Jesse with us. And we're supported by local citizen groups like Daniel Goldstein from Develop Don't Destroy Brooklyn and Lucy Coteen from the Central Brooklyn Democrats. She's over there. Thank you, Lucy. And Judy Hoffman's right behind me. Thank you, Judy. So momentum is really building, and I personally knock on thousands of doors. I began knocking on doors last December when the temperature was like 20 and it was snowing. In fact, the other day it was raining and somebody's like, "Oh, you're out in the terrible weather," and I was like, "Hey, there's no snow, man. It's not a problem." So we've knocked on thousands of doors. And we've talked to so many people about the issues in Brooklyn, and we really are hearing people loud and clear. They want change, they want reform, they want a chance for the progressive values that we all share in this room to have a chance to take hold. And without real reform, political promises are always going to just remain political promises. We're not going to get to that point where the ideas and the visions that we have for our district are going to take root. Because there's just too much money floating around, and politicians are too indebted to the people who spend it. So a few years ago, I was simply a community organizer who had assisted many others in their electoral efforts. My good friend Chris Owens here being one of them. And by the way, let me just take a quick moment to say Chris is the absolute best, and we are so fortunate. I'm really proud to stand next to Chris, and he's one of those friends that makes me look really good, so I'll take it. So today I'm asking everybody who can hear us to join Governor Dean and myself in a noble and necessary struggle. We need to send a message for reform. Come out and help me get on the ballot in September by signing and circulating the petition. Get involved. Tell your friends about my campaign reform. Knock on doors. Write a letter to your legislator. Make a difference. And as Governor Dean might say, let's take back New York. All right, thank you.